He just said something on his first one to shoot. That's what he said, yeah? Isn't he the one who's always preaching about the flow, the full martial arts, no holds barred, no rules, the ultimate fighting? How about the first one to get taken down? So martial arts. Put it all together.
Give him a proper head kick. There'll be a lot of weapons. There'll be a lot of weapons produced on the night for sure. He wants mixed martial arts. He is gonna get it.
If I were to ask you who is a better kicker, Conor McGregor or Dustin Poirier, what would your answer be? Perhaps you may be hesitant knowing that what happened to Conor McGregor in his last fight against Dustin Poirier, but ultimately in terms of arsenal, ability, and just overall skills, Conor McGregor when it comes to kicking is better than Dustin Poirier, and he's also just more made to kick than Dustin in general. So in saying that, how could it be that the second fight played out the way it did? Obviously, when it comes to the entire fighting game, sometimes it is just according to how you fight, not how you can fight or how you are able to fight. Sometimes fighters just abandon what makes them great and then suffer, but ultimately, very few fighters get the chance to redeem themselves and correct their wrongdoings. So when it comes to Conor McGregor going into a third fight, he is very fortunate to be getting a chance to redeem himself. So let's take a closer look at how he can do it. Dustin Poirier is not a fighter who is unfamiliar with getting leg kicked to a very damaging extent. Against Jim Miller this was the case, and especially against Justin Gaethje. So he knows exactly the effects that it can have on him. So this was the dynamic that Dustin Poirier played with in the rematch. Dustin was reacting to Conor McGregor and countering him all night long. However, in the third fight now, the likelihood of Conor McGregor being overly aggressive is low in my opinion. He not only will be coming in calmer, but more rangier, supposedly. You see, with McGregor in his fight with Khabib and Dustin, he fought very overzealous. He fought too aggressive. He was not patient enough. Against Khabib, that made him create openings for Khabib in which he could counter in and shoot him for a takedown. Against Dustin Poirier, Conor came forward recklessly with strictly boxing, and this presented no threats coming in low for Dustin, and he kicked the legs off of Conor all night long. Usually it is Conor McGregor who is the rangier kicker, utilizing all sorts of kicks to pressure the opponent back, so the fact that that was absent was the ultimate question on that night. Now, if taking McGregor's word means anything these days, then we will have to believe he will be coming in prepared to establish the long range. McGregor got leg kicked all night long, that's for sure, but if he takes his foot off the gas pedal just a little bit and replaces it with longer ranged kicks like he did in the first fight, then Dustin Poirier's openings to kick Conor McGregor as he walks in recklessly is a lot less present. Dustin is a good fighter at rolling with the momentum that builds up, and as it builds up, he finds his opening and exploits it like nobody else. And Conor McGregor is the opposite. Conor McGregor is like lightning. He strikes fast, he strikes hard, and then before you know it, it's already gone and over with. And the funny thing is that McGregor was always a fighter to not give up openings to his opponents. So in my opinion, knowing that he will have to be a little bit more efficient and a little bit more strict and a little bit more versatile, I imagine McGregor coming in, kicking not only low but also to the body, and then finally ending it off to the head. Those three were pretty much absent in the rematch. Now, when it comes to Conor, he has great long range kicks, but against a southpaw, he will have to adapt it a little bit more to straighter side kicks to the body, to the knee, and just maybe even to the head. Because he's a southpaw, and so is Dustin Poirier as well, the long teep kick, it may not be as effective or as open as it usually is against an orthodox fighter, but in general, this shouldn't really take away from him attempting this, since it will create range, which is essentially the key. He's not going to be stopping Dustin Poirier with a teep kick to the body, but it is like a buffer shot. It'll set up other things as well, because the body is where McGregor in the first fight had his success. He was able to spinning back kick Dustin to the cage a couple of times and back him up, then follow it up with a higher kick. Now at that range, Dustin is not as effective. This is the long range. He cannot just come in, check hook, or leg kick Conor McGregor as he's coming in recklessly. Now obviously, this is the fight game. You don't go into a fight without getting punched or kicked. So as Conor McGregor comes forward, at some point the leg kick will be thrown and probably it'll be landing, but at what rate that it will be utilized as a counter is, in my opinion, entirely dependent on how Conor McGregor comes forward. If he brings in a lot of ranged attacks and keeps Dustin Poirier occupied, then I don't see the leg kick being the most dominant immediate tool that Dustin Poirier will rely on. It'll most likely be the jab. And so because Dustin is effective in the close range, McGregor has to take that away from him as soon as possible. That being said, we cannot forget the takedown mix-ups of Dustin Poirier. It won't be very long before something like this is attempted, and how it will be changing Conor McGregor's attitude or mentality in the fight from offense to defense will be seen come fight night. But if the first takedown is successful, it will no doubt have an impact on Conor McGregor's mentality, and he will probably be less comfortable popping back out and shooting in a straight left right away, because that will be the shot that Dustin will duck under and shoot in on. So we'll see come fight night how everything will play out. But I wouldn't be surprised if Conor gets taken out again. If he does, let's see what Dustin will do with it. I would like to believe that McGregor is skilled enough to not let anything big be established, but time will tell. This time around, Dustin may be coming in a lot more prepared and better. Regardless of that, however, the longer the range is that Conor keeps Dustin at, the better it is for him. And the longer Dustin goes without countering anything significant, the more he will start to open up. And this opening up is the key factor. If Dustin doesn't open up, and if he gets pressured and backed up the entire time, then so be it. Conor is winning that exchange and that sequence, and as a result of it, he will win the round as well. If he doesn't knock out Dustin Poirier, then so be it. A decision is also a win. However, coming back to opening up, this will mean that there can be a big counterpunch window for Conor to catch Dustin with as he walks in. And when an opponent walks in on Conor, that's when the big finishes come. McGregor, in my opinion, has been in great shape, and I believe that his cardio right now is at an all-time high. In the Dustin Poirier rematch, he looked pretty good, excluding the damaged leg. With a less aggressive and efficient method of fighting, I wouldn't be surprised to see Conor McGregor go 4 or 5 rounds without a problem. Now, this depends on this. It depends on if Conor McGregor is in control of the tempo and range. If he can control both of these things, then in my opinion, this will be a performance close to the Holloway, Sivas, or Alvarez fight, where his cardio seemed to be holding up very nicely and he went on without a problem. Now, talking about patience, Conor will be finding his finishing shots better with it. Without forcing it, everything will be developing naturally. Until that, however, McGregor has to go to the legs and body early on. He has to damage the legs and take away some of the stamina to the body. By damaging the legs and taking away stamina, he will take away mobility and confidence. And with that, he has to then occupy Dustin Poirier low and then come up high with the ultimate final blow. Keeping Dustin Poirier occupied is the best way for Conor McGregor to find the ultimate finishing shot. However, I am unsure how McGregor will try to fight come fight night. I would like to believe that he will fight in the manner that I just talked about, but this was also the manner that I expected him to fight in for the second fight against Poirier and the fight with Khabib, and in those fights we got nothing like it. But one thing is for sure in this matchup, Dustin Poirier will be the consistent factor. He will be as crafty as he always has been, so in that I have full confidence. Conor McGregor, if he finds his opening, he can hurt anybody. He's one of the best finishers in the game, so I hope for his sake that he can mix it all up and put on a good show and finish Dustin Poirier. This is his last shot at being relevant at the top of the division. If he loses once again, then I'm sorry to say it, but the McGregor era will be coming to an end. However, in the end, only time will tell what will truly happen. Until then, leave in the comment section down below who you think will win. And as always, I have been Keenan from Keenan KTV, signing off. Later.